I recently made a video talking about the movie Belle, links in the description if you're interested. In that video, I discussed how Belle calls us to live more authentic lives, especially in this increasingly digital world. I mentioned how we often use our online profiles, our avatars, to paint very specific images of ourselves, often devoid of the very things that make us human. Today, I'd like to expand on that topic, but before I do, we need to pay a little visit to Japan and explore its idol culture. The idol industry in Japan is strange, to say the least. If you've never heard of it, it's basically the boy band craze gender swapped and multiplied by 100. Thousands of teenage girls, some even younger than that, pour into talent agencies hoping to skip school and live the dream life of a performer, winning the love and support of the predominantly adult male fans in the process. This was once a fairly protected field, but over the years the mindset of the industry has shifted. As the internet, anime, and pornography have become more mainstream, the idol business has had to fight to maintain relevance. Nowadays, they regularly host handshake events, where fans, again grown men, can meet, talk to, and hold the hands of these young girls, allowing their relationship to be far more personal than that of the competition. Excuses of cultural differences can't conceal the predatory nature of this market, exploiting the innocent ambitions of these young girls to capitalize on their youthful energy, and more disturbingly, their virginity. The goal isn't to have these men sleep with them en masse, mind you. The idea is that each girl embodies purity, an image she must maintain to be each fan's sweetheart, an innocent kid who needs their financial support to achieve her dream of reaching the top of her industry. It's a marketing strategy as strong as it is sickening, emotionally manipulating fans into believing that these girls, literally paid to talk to them, need their money to achieve greatness. It's no wonder that idol culture has captured the hearts of thousands of Japanese men, some even suggesting it contributes to the country's declining birth rate. But anyways, my point here is that idol culture is very toxic, and despite its fixation on purity, it is at the same time overtly sexual and I'd argue pedophilic. Naturally, once in the business, many of these girls aren't content with the job. They see it simply as a means to the end of achieving national fame, of being a pop star, an actress, or whatever else suits their fancy. The 1997 anime film Perfect Blue follows one such idol, Mima, as she attempts to leave the industry to pursue a career in acting. Directed by Satoshi Kon and considered by many to be his greatest work, Perfect Blue blurs the line between reality and fiction, continuously making both Mima and the audience second-guess their conception of reality. This staggering level of interpretation has prompted many fans to analyze the film in greater detail, hoping to uncover its deeper meaning by isolating the realities of Mima's struggles from her increasingly deadly hallucinations. It's certainly possible that this is what Kon intended when developing Perfect Blue, perhaps taking a page out of the Things book by ending on the eerie note of continued paranoia. But the way I see it, the people picking apart the realities of this movie are missing the truth lying in plain sight. This is the point of Perfect Blue. As an idol, Mima has spent years learning how to sing, dance, and cry on stage, each a craft she's mastered over the course of her career. She's practically been programmed to wring as much money out of her loyal fanbase as is humanly possible, making quite a name for herself in the process. Thousands of her peers dream of earning the chance to act, but Mima is the only one we see presented with this momentous opportunity. Whether or not that is what Mima truly wants, though, remains to be seen. Throughout the entire movie, there is only one thing we know for certain that Mima wants, the only thing she's willing to pursue regardless of the situation: clarity. This represented by none other than the color blue, one which is notably absent throughout the movie. In its place, we see grays, tans, blacks, and reds, the last of these colors becoming more predominant as the film progresses. The perfect blue continues to elude her though, as she's faced with the tough decision of which career to pursue. Should she remain an idol and continue singing forever to her loyal fans, or should she embrace the new, exciting path of an actress? As I've already mentioned, she chooses the latter, even stating to herself that she can't sing forever. But even as she pursues this career change, she cannot help but second guess herself. She's conflicted. She's not sure which of these options, if either, she even wants. She's simply acting in the moment, following the advice of the agents continuously shaping her image. Image. That's what this movie is about, as it's the driving force behind every character. Who is Mima? How do people perceive her? What is the best way to market Mima to the rest of the world? What I find particularly interesting is that Mima's first line as an actress asks this same question. Who are you? To the otakus, the idol simps, and her stalker Mimania, she's a sweetheart, an innocent young girl stolen from them by greedy corporate executives. To Rumi, one of Mima's agents, she's an extension of her younger self through which Rumi may relive the glory days when she too was once an idol. And to her other agent, Tadakoro, she's the latest in a long line of talent to be pawned off to the highest bidder. In this case, the studio behind Mima's first acting gig, a TV series called Double Bind. Double bind, a phrase meaning a situation with two irreconcilable demands, serves a twofold purpose. For one, it acts as the catalyst for Mima's own double bind, but on top of that, this parallel is what makes the film's blend of reality and fiction possible. How? Well, it crafts the scene that breaks both Mima and the character she's been hired to play. A scene. When Mima's handed the script, the red script, her agents argue over whether or not such a thing is acceptable, and I want you to pay close attention to what each of them say.
冗談じゃありません。レイプシーンなんて。
後半の鍵を握る重要な役なんだぞ。
だってミマはアイドルですよ。
ただでさえ脚本が遅れて美術スタッフが先立ってるんだ。それを打ちあこねてますます遅らせたりしたらどうなるよ。
Neither of them give a crap about Mima's opinion on whether or not she herself wants to film such a grotesque act, much as reveal her body to the world. Rumi is against it, of course, on the grounds that it would tarnish Mima's idol reputation, while Tadakoro sees it only as a means for her to get a larger role in the show. Both fail to see it for what it truly is, a despicable exploitation of a young actress desperate to reshape her image. The scene itself I'm not going to show for obvious reasons, but nevertheless, it's still important to point out what it does to Mima's reputation and, by extension, her already uncertain mind. Idols are desirable to men because they embody the purity and innocence that life strips away from us all, that these men, subconsciously or otherwise, want to take from these idols and possess for themselves. So by filming this scene, by having herself be violated on camera for all to see, she tarnishes that innocent persona, that pure image, forever losing her status as an idol. A disgusted Rumi can't help but leave the room in tears as even Tadakoro winces at the sight. And her fans, specifically her biggest fan, the stalker Mimania, it breaks him. He convinces himself that the Mima he knows would never have done such a thing, concluding that the woman on TV must be an imposter. He takes to his Mima fan page, the eerily named website Mima's Room, and posts as if he is the idol he loves. He's been doing this for some time, mind you, but this is the first time he actively contradicts the real Mima. Meanwhile, this real Mima has an emotional breakdown in her real room, admitting to herself that such a scene was something she never wanted to do. She simply went along with it so as to not let her agents down, so as to not squander the opportunity before her. The trauma of this experience shatters her mind as if it were glass, prompting the part of her that wanted to remain an idol to separate itself from her now dirty flesh, a body that becomes even dirtier when Mima is pressured into posing for nude photos. As Mima's pressured choices continue to reap her fractured mind nothing but grief, and Mimania's perverted obsession spirals into darkness, murders begin to occur. First, it's the writer behind that now infamous moment in Mima's life, and then it's the photographer who took from Mima far more than she intended. Mima grows increasingly unstable as her hallucinations only worsen, her confusion soon bleeding into her acting. In Satoshi Kon's beautifully animated transitions, her mental stability implodes, her blending of reality and fiction directly mirroring these seamless transitions. To Mima, she and her on-screen character have become indistinguishable. And why wouldn't they? She's never taken accountability of herself, voiced her own opinions, or genuinely pursued her own desires. She simply defers her own self-judgments to the people around her, running herself no different than a written character. It's all about image, the external gratification we can only get from others. Naturally, she continues asking herself her very first line in Double Bind, who are you? She can't be an idol anymore, she can never regain that image, and the one it's been replaced with is the very thing making her miserable, that's engulfing her in red, that's driving her to the brink of insanity. As reality becomes less and less tangible, Mima turns to the website Mima's Room to sort out the truth. She comes to believe that everything Mimania claims is true, and it becomes the focal point of her life. She convinces herself that she was the one who killed those men, the second murder one we even witnessed her commit, if it was even real at least. Even the reality of Mimania's deranged sexual assault is called into question mere moments after it happens. It's after this scene, after Mima kills Mimania but also doesn't, that Rumi arrives and the pair share an entirely red backdrop. Not only has Mima completely lost it, but so too has Rumi. And it's here, when confronted with someone equally unstable, that Mima can finally begin picking up the pieces of her horrendously damaged mind. When it became clear that Mima's idle reputation was beyond repair, Rumi snapped. Since she could no longer live vicariously through Mima, she decided to simply become Mima instead. Rumi reveals that she manipulated Mimania into killing those men before she finished the job herself by killing both him and Tadakoro. Why? Because these men could not keep themselves from objectifying Mima, the pure and innocent idol Rumi now claims to be, donning both a wig and, of course, the color red. Mima tries to flee, but eventually, cornered by this mirror image of herself, both Rumi's and Mima's paranoia combined into one, she's forced to take a stand. There's nobody there to help her, despite her desperate pleas for a liberator. There's nobody there to guide her down a specific path, no image that can spare Mima from the psychopath before her. And there's nobody there to tell Mima who she is. She must decide for herself. Is she real? Is she worth saving? And the answer is a resounding yes. In the glass before her, she sees her pursuer isn't the real Mima that seduced Mimania, that killed those men, it's Rumi. And when she looks at herself, she doesn't see an idol, an actress, or any other image she's painted. All that's there is herself. I am Mima. I am who I am, she exclaims as she faces down her foe, ripping the wig right off Rumi's head, robbing the woman of her facade, of the false image her delusion has crafted, an act that finally realigns Mima with herself. Desperate to regain the illusion, to return to that euphoric, youthful state, Rumi reaches down to pick the wig back up, but in doing so, she impales herself with broken glass, falling on the blade of her own sword. Idol culture is strange, to say the least. It's an appeal to the perverted male gaze disguised as a form of wholesome, pure, harmless escapism, where men can forget the economic and emotional woes of their lives and focus on something, on someone who paints a far prettier image of the world than what they're used to. It might seem like a relief to think that such a thing is unique to Japan, but the fact of the matter is that here in America, in the Western world, we deal with this same core issue. The curse of perception. Perfect Blue makes a point to show us exactly what each major character thinks about Mima, about what she wants and who she should be. And look where these fabricated images, these pressures for Mima to be something she's not, get her. Look how miserable, how broken and uncertain she becomes. Have none of us ever felt this way? Do none of us know what it's like to be pressured to fit the mold cast by others, by society or family, friends or coworkers? While I was writing the script for this video, I opened up Instagram and happened to stumble across an interview of Jenna Ortega, Wednesday. And she just so happened to make the exact same point I've been trying to make with these videos.
Because again, I still have this really, really intense urge to be human and honest and just authentic. Another thing about this industry is, you get in front of the camera and people want you to be something else, like you were saying. It's the puppet thing where it's have more energy, or could you smile a bit more, or could you sell this more, and it just feels so gross, and I don't want to feel gross.
And she's right, it is gross. How executives prey on talent, seeing them as nothing more than a fat paycheck. How the public eye idolizes, sexualizes, and ultimately dehumanizes those who manage to catch its gaze. Heck, look at the YouTuber Dream, a young guy bullied into covering his ugly face with a mask once more. Emilia Clarke forced to film the most vile scene ever shot in Game of Thrones, after which she was given nothing to cover herself. Even just being an attractive person on campus will earn you countless inappropriate remarks you'll likely never know were uttered. In my Belle video, I challenged people to be more honest, to act more authentic online. Because if all we do is parade around these facades, the avatars we create and false images we paint, we deprive the world of the one thing it needs to drastically change for the better: our humanity. But that's not enough, is it? If it was, I wouldn't have bothered making this video. In truth, acting honestly is only the first step to change. What we need to do next, what Perfect Blue is challenging us to do now, today, is change our perception of the people around us. Not only must we act honestly, but we must also strive to see others for who they really are. Not objects or idols, entertainers or actors, costs or benefits, but individuals, human beings just like you and me. As an impaled Rumi stumbles away from Mima, she falls onto the street, right into oncoming traffic. As Mima looks on, she sees once more the hallucination of her past idol self. But this does not scare her anymore, because she knows this woman is not an idol. She's not the real Mima. She's just Rumi, a mentally ill woman in dire need of her help. That is what we need to do, how we are being called to view the people around us. Forgoing our objectification and inherent biases is the only way for us to overcome the pressures of life, to confidently pursue the goals we want to achieve. It's the only way for us to build a better tomorrow hand in hand with our peers and ride off into the horizon. Our very own Perfect Blue.